Welcome, everybody. Okay. Oh, good. Thank you. Welcome back to Senate Economic Development and General Affairs. Today, we are turning to our economic development part of our jurisdiction, and we're looking at our bill S 327, which has two new components, which we're going to hear briefly about those components, both of which are a task force to look at issues that that have economic impact for the state. So Rick, our wonderful legislative counsel, is going to just quickly bring us up to speed on the language, and then we're going to turn to the substance. So Rick Sagel, welcome.
Good morning, Rick Sagel, Office of Legislative Counsel. And I'm attempting to join the Zoom. It's my laptop, it's not you, Kira, it's my laptop.
Oh, okay. We all have copies of 3.
Okay, fantastic. Is that?
I think this is where paper saves us.
Okay.
We love paper. I just want to remind everybody that paper is a Vermont product, or part of our products industry, and an important piece of our economy.
Okay, so 327, this is draft 3.1.
Yeah.
The changes from 2.1 are highlighted in yellow, and I'll just run through those chronologically, unless you have a different method you want me to take.
I think at the moment, just given that we have these witnesses, let's just look at the Culinary Institute and the study on 22A, and then we'll come back to the others.
Very good. So
is that okay?
That is fine. The culinary language, small changes on page 10 of the bill. Very, very minor on the stakeholder sections.
We're on section 9, right?
This is section 10.
Section 10.
Yes. This is the study conducted by the Office of Workforce Strategy and Development to study the feasibility of establishing a Culinary Institute of Vermont. So that language is changing. What is changing is adding a few stakeholders to the work. On lines 12, 13, and 16, you see the Department of Labor, the Department of Corrections, and the Vermont Employee Ownership Center have been added as new stakeholders to be consulted during the study.
Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. On page 11, this is a brand new section. This is the Interstate 22A study by the Department or the Agency of Transportation. This is a almost copy and paste of S 287, bill that Senator Weeks sponsored. And I can briefly go through it. Maybe Senator Weeks can testify as to the intent and everything else behind it, but happy to go over the language in this section.
Yeah, briefly, and then let's move to David, because I think
if you want, I can cover it.
Great. Why don't we let David cover it?
Sure.
Why don't you switch back here, and then we will then go back to you after we do the culinary and 22A testimonies.
Sounds good.
Is that okay? Yeah. Thanks.
And if you don't mind, I'm going to drive from here.
Great.
That's because I want to be able to point out a couple things on the screen. So we have Kara.
Yep. She is on it.
Okay, we go to full screen mode.
Love it.
Shock value. Little podium on the lower right.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
Got it.
Okay. and
switch the screens at the top. So you go to display settings right here, and then do switch screens. Swap presenter view and slideshow.
Perfect. There you go. Good.
Okay, great.
So the whole idea here is to get Vermont talking about new limited access roads in the state and their associated positive economic impact on our industry, tourism, and quality of life for our own residents. Okay. And if you would go to the next slide, please. Okay, so Vermont was developed in the era, and one distinct prosperous economic era was the railroad era. That was, I just heard a briefing just moments ago where in the late 1800s, Vermont was 90% rail transport, 10% roads. Now it's the opposite. We're 10% railroad, 90% roads. Well, this was the last prosperous era for a whole swath of Vermont, from Virgins on down to Bennington. Next slide, please. So from Virginia down to Bennington, we're still operating. Our entire economy is operating in that region on roads that were laid down in the 1930s. Model T, Model A being the primary form of road transportation at the time. Next slide, please. And along came Eisenhower's 1956 road bill. So that's on the left is an image of the original construction. On the right is an image of there were all kinds of proposed paths for the Eisenhower roads. This was one which included Bennington and Rutland, included what is now Interstate 89, 91, on up into Canada. That part was built, and then there was an extension, the 91 extension up into the Northern Kingdom built, but the part in the Rutland, Bennington, Manchester area and such not built. Next slide, please. Okay, so we have what we have today, and I'm just going to pop up. In the military, we brief on our feet. We don't brief in the seat. So
Right.
I'm just gonna make that one change here, just for the moment. Okay, so from Bennington or Burlington does not have a western access. It has a northern access, has an eastern access, but does not have a western access. So all your transport is coming along these interstates from the north and from the east. But what's coming in from the west is Route 22A, which Roy is going to make us painfully aware of the challenges on 22A. 22A skirts the edge of Lake Champlain, comes down through the Fairhaven area and joins in through New York into Glens Falls area. Okay, just to kind of give everybody a sense. Well, 22A was not built for container trucks and what have you, and it's a problem. So I just wanted to kind of level set this. So again, for shock value, the conversation is really about limited access highways across the state. But for this particular linkage, it's about 64 miles to get from Burlington to Interstate 87, which is located in New York State. So there is a relationship that has to be developed with New York. And that's not going to be simple, no doubt. The idea, though, is to then also, coming out of Burlington, is also pick up Virgins, Middlebury, and Route 4. Route 4 is an interstate format, but it terminates right at the border of New York.
And the 4-lane aspect of it.
The 4-lane aspect, that's exactly it. There's also a very small 6-7 mile section of 4-lane road that connects Rutland to Wallingford. Again, all part of the 1960s limited access highway project, all but truncated mostly because of Act 250 efforts and what have you. But the idea is, again, to stimulate a conversation. So I'll put it in perspective. 2 years ago, roughly or so, the governor initiated a conversation about education. We're talking about education, good, bad, and indifferent. We're all talking about education. Okay, I want to spur the same type of conversation. Limited access highways. Next slide, please. Okay, so what I want you to do, though, is step back from your own kind of personal confines, and think of the potential of limited access highways as being an environmental architecture, form of environmental architecture. It doesn't have to be, bulldozing towns and cities and what have you. It's a whole different form of perspective.
What were those two? Were those like West Virginia or California?
They were Utah.
Oh, but you could show 87 through the Adirondacks, which would be
Absolutely. I just found some images. Okay, so the idea here is simply evaluate limited access road construction, specific starting with Burlington, because Burlington is the political heart right now of Vermont and would benefit greatly from access. The study would review 22A, which again, we're always going to sensitize us to, would prioritize. 22A may not be the right first choice, but
it's an economic, the whole reason it's here is that this is an economic, this has huge economic impact in terms of the delivery of goods and services.
So that's the final bullet. So talking about routes, costs, funding mechanisms leads to economic development. My neck of the woods, I moved here when I was 15 years old. Nothing's changed. Stagnant as stagnant was 50 years ago. Okay. And that bothers me a little bit. And that's what spurred this conversation. So that's it.
Right
That's,
on our Hollywood sign.
I love it.
that's another shot. So yeah, so that's a whole different initiative about welcome signs in Vermont or what have you. But the idea is you got to think outside the box a little bit. Okay, I want you guys to think about not what is, but what could be. I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Great, thank you. And Tom, Jeremy, if you'd be kind enough to come and join us. And Thomas, you have a question?
I want to say I really appreciate you bringing this forward. I fully support expanding our transportation infrastructure. I understand in Vermont, since I had Interstate 89 and 91 have come in, we have not put a single additional exit on. So we just haven't invested or expanded the transportation infrastructure that's necessary to move goods and services in this automobile age that we still are very much in. The last thing I want to say on your framing of where if you look at where the major ports are for the Northeast, we got Montreal. We now have a highway that goes to Montreal. Boston, we have highway access to, but in New York, financial and major center, everybody's getting from Burlington I would argue the economic center on the state political
No, they
center.
have to go over to 80.
They gotta go 22A. So this is just a missing void of transportation infrastructure for Vermont.
Great, thank you. And I would say, actually, that's not fully true. We have actually invested quite a bit in rail, trying to bring rail back into the picture as its impact on our environment is substantially less. So, Jeremy, we welcome you. This is your first time, I think, in our committee.
Yes, yes.
And so let's just quickly introduce ourselves.
Okay.
And then we're gonna let you have it.
We know each other.
Yes.
Keisha Romkinsdale, Chittenden County.
Allison Clarkson, Windsor District.
Randy Brock, Franklin County, and Northern Grand Isle.
Good morning, Dave Reed, Scrubs on Welcome Council.
Right, Jeremy, if you introduce yourself
Yep.
and share with us your AOT response to
Sure.
this proposal.
Jeremy Reed, Chief Engineer and Division Director for the Highway Division for the Agency of Transportation. So we oppose this effort. And one of the principal reasons is because a similar effort just concluded with the Virgins Pell study. So the Virgins Pell study is a planning and environmental linkages study. And this was undertaken related to the bypass of Virgins. And so just to give you a quick summary of that, basically they came up with two alternatives. One was a 2.5 mile bypass, one was a 2.3 mile bypass. The study took 4 years and cost roughly $2 million. And just for a 2-lane road, what they concluded was those two routes cost between 60 and 80 million a mile. And so if we were to look at
60 to 80 million a mile.
correct.
And
Now that's all in. That's not just construction costs. That's design, permitting, right of way.
Read abundance and you'll see
Yeah.
that we spend billions of dollars not to build things.
Correct. Right. So, if we were to sort of extend that conservatively to a limited access highway, we're easily talking 100 million a mile. And so, again, some quick math, I said, shortest straight line distance from Route 4 to Route 7, kind of parallel to 22A is 40-ish miles. I think you said 87 to connect 87. So we're talking, let's just say $4 to $10 billion a mile or for a project of that scope. And so I understand the intent is that basically make this fiscally self-sustaining. And so without looking at any of the ongoing maintenance costs, plowing, et cetera, you would essentially need to raise $10 billion to fund this, or depending on how far the extents were. The construct under federal highway in which you can pull is it has to be basically something you've funded yourself. And so
100% or
100%.
90-10.
No, 100%. So in order to establish a toll road, we would need to pay for 100% of the maintenance and construction and development of the toll road. The problem with that is you'd still have 22A and Route 7. So if you were, let's just say, going to charge $50 a trip to drive from Route 4 to Route 7 on a limited access 55 to 65 mile an hour road, people would still have the option to take 22A and Route 7 for free. And so the economics generally would not work out to essentially pay for itself. You just wouldn't have enough users. Now, and this is basically established nationally in that federal highway has a very technical term called leakage, right? Whereas if you try to have a toll road, if you have easy alternatives, you'll get leakage of those potential users. And that's where, generally speaking, tolls are most successful on bridges where there are limited to no alternatives. Or if there's like 93 down in New Hampshire, right? There isn't really an obvious alternative to that. So, I think we can conclude in fairly short order that this is not a viable construct, and it would cost tens of millions of dollars to do. Now, again, as I started, the Virginia's health study took 4 years, so the time frame to have this concluded by January of 2027, we would not be able to produce a document that had any meaning at that time frame. And at the end of the day, we would probably spend tens of millions of dollars to demonstrate something that we could, by extension, conclude from Virginia's.
Thank you. I guess I do have a question. When you say the state that would charge tolls would have to pay for their infrastructure, the road infrastructure, 100%. 93 was not paid for 100% by New Hampshire, and they have tolls. I mean, it's just curious. There are tolls. We have Easy Pass. We do are clear on where those tolls are.
Yeah.
So I'm just a little puzzled by that. I mean, the state didn't pay for all the roads they get.
So there were certain grandfathered roads, but the upgrades to those, right? So we could add a lane to 22A, and if we paid for that exclusively ourselves, we could toll a lane on 22A. But the existing configuration of 22A would have to remain untolled. So a lot of the work that New Hampshire did through, upgrading 93 south of Manchester,
That was all grandfather.
that was principally paid for without federal highway formula funds.
Interesting. Okay, so that answers that question. Thank you. So interesting. Anybody have questions?
I know you have a speaker that needs to leave by 9. I do have questions, but I feel
No, ask your questions.
Yeah. So-
And I can hang out some too.
Because we also have Roy.
I just want to inject in this conversation that tolls can be different in this modern day and age. We keep thinking of somebody sitting in a box collecting a quarter or something.
No, I think it's Easy Pass.
Yeah, but even then, with the other notion that I think is percolating around this country is we can use through intelligent infrastructure, tracking license plates, which every vehicle's having to display at all points of congestion on state funded roads that are not federally funded, tracking usage. And that usage could be related to not individual, here's a nickel, you gotta owe me another quarter, but instead Vermont cars that use intersections more could get charged a higher registration rate at that point of registration to raise money for roads. In addition, we could also be tracking when Canadians use our roadways and send them a bill if they're using them a lot, not like a quarter, but if there's a Canadian company that's using our local roads regularly and frequently, we could accumulate that information through the tracking of intelligent infrastructure at all of our points of congestion, our red, green, and yellow stop signs, and then could generate funds through a very smart tolling methodology,
And I think
including out of
that,
staters too.
yeah, and I think that's what the study, it plans to.
I just want to expand our thinking of tolling to pay for transportation infrastructure for the next 20 years.
And I guess I would just clarify one thing, that the only roads in Vermont that are not federally funded by and large would be class 2 town highways, right? So even class 1 town highways along the state system. And so, we built out our network largely dependent on federal funds and continue to maintain that largely dependent on federal funds.
Jeremy, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And it is interesting that you have just done that for Jensfeld study that that obviously has given you a huge amount of recent data.
Right.
And that is that certainly helpful. And now we begin to appreciate where
We should celebrate while we're talking about transportation that Beta just got a federal
very excited.
award.
Yeah, very excited. Thank you for your input. This is super helpful. Roy, we're going to quickly have you come join us. And then Devin's there somewhere. Devin, I'm going to ask you if you don't mind holding on until after we hear from Nick. We're going to just sort of do back and forth because Nick had to leave. Great. Thank you, Roy. Thank you for driving all the way up on
I'm not, the chairman told me this would be part of the record, so I'm not gonna read it all. But briefly, I can, tell you that I am the publisher of Lakeside News and Rutland.
Roy, just introduce yourself.
Roy, New- publisher of Lakeside News and the Rutland Sun. I live in Castleton and we publish the weekly newspaper. Okay, I've had this newspaper since 2005. And prior to that, I had the Brandon Episcopal Reporter and Vermont Ski News. I can tell you that I have traveled just about every route in the state of Vermont, primary and secondary. And that this 22A from Fairhaven to Virgins is the most dangerous highway in the state of Vermont without question. If you
Your visuals are quite impressive. So
look at this page here with the photos, I'll just speak to that in a minute.
Yep,
This one here.
we'll pull it all up. This is online for people who are online.
This, this pictures of various accidents. I have 3 or 4 more pages like this.
Oh, gee.
But what I want to show you here is all these trucks that have turned over. Okay, now what are these trucks? These trucks are trucks, trailer trucks that are carrying food, gas, products to Chittenden County, Franklin County, and Addison County.
Yeah.
And if this road is in such dire need of repairs, that I hope that you all will copy this memo here and spread it to your colleagues. Because it's most important that that this happens. If you look at this one here, this photo here, you can see where this trailer truck completely across the road. But there's one other interesting fact on here is that if you look at the side of the road, you can see how narrow before you go off the road. It's like a foot
The breakdown line.
right down there. Okay.
It's a breakdown
has-
for bicycles.
Okay, now the other thing I want to important, you see the white line there? And then on the other side, it's the same one. So I believe what has happened, and I can't verify this, but my conclusion is that a lot of these trucks, when they headed south and they meet one going north, they're concentrating on making sure that they're far enough apart from each other. It's not like a car that's driving a truck, and they're gonna make sure that there's enough room between them and the other truck. And what happens is, in the meantime, they're driving on the white line to move over enough, and first thing you know, they're off the road. I can go back and read some of
I
this.
think your pictures are worth 1,000.
Yeah, the other part of it you can pretty much read, but another one here on this here. It says, when will the first shovel be? This is back in 1923. When will the first shovel to make this road improvements?
And when was, remind us, David, when was this first built?
Laid down birds.
In the 30s, right?
And nothing's happened to
Most of
it.
the roads in the
Like the Merritt Highway.
Addison County, Rutland County.
Yeah.
And down below here, I see where the South Burlington is proposing a bike path over the interstate.
Yeah.
It's just all fine and well. But that is not needed before Route 22A
Before
is
major,
fixed.
right. Right.
they're both needed.
Need an open
Huh?
They're both needed. But yeah, I hear your, I take your point.
I mean, this is a luxury, this bike path.
Well, it's, right.
I mean, this is food for Chittenden County.
Yeah,
Every
we
single,
appreciate,
every single day going through Rutland County.
right.
And all the gas, you get wait till one of these trailer trucks explodes. And the other thing is I want to speak to you about it. And as I say, I'm not going to read this because I know you're I'll leave it up to you because you.
No, we appreciate this very much. Thank you so much. Thank you for
One
covering
other
it.
thing I want to say is that you all gotta be aware that every single day, it's school buses going Fairhaven out to Oral and back all day long with the different kids. Any questions for me?
Thank you.
No, thank you very much for coming up. I think my one question for you is, you must have done work with Phil Camp on the ski news.
Yeah, yes, I do, yes. Steve's
Great. So Nick, we're gonna just shift, before we move to Devon, we're gonna shift to Nick because Nick has to leave. And so we are a little pivoting from transportation to our Culinary Institute proposal, our study. So Nick, if you'd be kind of welcome, it's great to have you. Thank you for coming via Zoom. And if you just introduce yourself and share how you are feeling about this proposed study about reestablishing a Culinary Institute in Vermont.
Sure. My name is Nick Delory. I'm the culinary arts instructor at Southwest Tech in Bennington. I'm a former graduate of Stafford Technical Center in Rutland in the culinary arts program. So not only am I now sitting on the other side of the desk, but I was a student in a tech center looking for opportunity across the region at one point. But I came through my time with Stafford when Necky was thriving and abundant. They were also offering the accelerated tech prep program. If anyone remembers that back in the day, where high school students could take essentially like your first semester worth of classes at Necky while still in high school. And it was essentially free of charge to the students somehow. Too young to know how that worked, but I remember it being, just a wealth of opportunity. And I know there are a number of students that took advantage of that tech prep program. There's a number of students that then attended, as well as adults, adult education learners that then went back for their diplomas and stuff through the Necky program because of the cost savings it would give them. Necky was a unique institute where it was kind of spread out all over the city of Montpelier, and we had the Main Street Grill and La Brioche, and a really great working environment for both the college student and the adult learner. Now with Necky's closure, we just don't have that anymore. And with tourism and hospitality and the food industry being a pivotal moneymaker for the state of Vermont, it seems that we're, in my opinion, not reinvesting into ourselves. If we want the learner to stay here, to put down roots, whatever, we gotta appeal to them. And these are out-of-state learners as well. We have to appeal to them and bring them to the state, where they can have opportunity and show them the opportunity of our state. And where I think we're just losing that kind of capitalization right now. As a teacher, I see students every single year that are off to college or off to the workforce, and because there's no option in the state, they're all going out of state. Everyone's going out of state, and that includes the worker, the student that's not pursuing college, but going straight into the workforce, because of the opportunity. I think they're unaware of the opportunities that are here, and while we do, of course, try to give them the opportunity, we talk about different towns across the state, etc. Being in Bennington with Massachusetts and New York very close, there's opportunity there as well. And the places around us have realized that there is no Necky anymore, and they are trying their darndest to gain our young learners. We see the community college system of New Hampshire stepping to the plate. There's currently a requirement within the CTE culinary arts field where we have to offer a minimum of 3 college credits to all of our students. They have to gain those credits. The community college system of New Hampshire has stepped to the plate and is now offering those credits to our students, whether it's Lakes Region Community College or White Mountains. I think White Mountains Community College and Gorham are the two kind of leaders, I think, of that. But really, all of them that have a culinary program are offering. The SUNY system in New York,
Yeah.
articulations, agreements, and other benefits to lowering the cost of admission. That they are vehemently pursuing our students. Even as far as Southern Maine Community College in Maine is offering any Vermont student coming from Vermont in-state tuition.
Oh, jeez.
It is a huge benefit to the students to take advantage of that. And so we're I think we're just losing the potential. And with the newfound Vermont State University and the state's investment in tourism and hospitality, it would seem prudent to want to try to keep our learners here, keep them engaged, and keep them, kind of funneling into our own workforce pipeline, which we just don't see right now.
Right.
Because of the loss of Becky.
Nick, thank you. That's very helpful. If you have any written testimony, if you wanted to send it to Kiara, that would be great. But this was terrific. Thank you. Anybody have a question for Nick? Thank you for taking time to step out of your classroom to join us. We really appreciate. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you. If you have any additional thoughts, just send them our way.
I will. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Okay, we are going to shift back to finish up our 22A discussion and move to Devin. Devin, are you with us?
I am. Thanks for
There
having
you
me.
are. You
I'll
look
try to
like
be
you're
as-
just small.
What's that? So yeah, getting drowned out by the sun.
Oh, how nice. Lucky you. Good to see you. Welcome.
You as well. Thank you, and I'll try to be quick because I know you guys are running over time. And also great to hear from Nick. Stafford Technical Center in our region is a wildly important resource, and he's proof of that. So that's great. I, you know, I probably don't have a ton to add based on all the testimony you've received so far, but I do want to mention a few things. One, the 2026 freight plan is underway by VTrans right now, and I think that is an opportunity to maybe consider looking at 22A. Historically, that has not been included in the state rail plan because it's not a US highway. However, given its significance in freight movement along the Western Corridor, that could be something to consider. And, I'm happy to speak to Dave Pelletier about a potential inclusion if it's not too late. Because, one important thing to note is, the rail network in Rutland County is some of the most significant in the state. And through the work at OMIA, it's one of the most productive rail lines. But there is not a transload facility south of, I think, Shelburne or Charlotte in Vermont, and that certainly drives more truck traffic along that 22A corridor than maybe it would normally. I think for the Regional Planning Commission's perspective, and to speak to Roy's testimony, we're interested in looking at anything that addresses safety and circulation on that corridor. Over the last 5 years, there have been 63 accidents just in Benson and West Haven along this corridor, 16 of which resulted in injury and 3 fatalities. For such a small area with limited access to that highway along that corridor, that's a significant issue, especially for the traffic volume of only 4,000 to 5,000 cars per day. So we understand, upgrading the road to modern standards has been a challenge, and it's certainly been significantly delayed by right-of-way issues and other factors along this corridor, including historic and natural resources. So given how complex and difficult it has been just to get the road widened, the complexity and cost of a limited access highway does raise some concerns, and I appreciate Jeremy's perspective, giving some reality of cost to that situation. But, I often say let's not start with no, especially if money is the issue. Let's still take a hard look at it. So maybe not a intense study as Pell, but something that could look at how to better address this corridor in a quicker way, because certainly the repaving and widening project right now is happening at a pace that is concerning given the condition of the road. And props to VTrans, because a few years ago, they did an emergency overlay of this area that typically the agency does not do. And it saved lives because the wheel rutting is so significant on this road. By putting that just thin layer on top made a big difference. But we're living on borrowed time. So, whether this study is promulgated or we refocus our efforts on advancing and expediting the widening project, something needs to happen. And I think that's what Roy's real call to action is in terms of safety and circulation, because it is a critical corridor in our region and Western Vermont.
So Devin, given that AOT is not willing to convene this conversation, would you, and maybe in conjunction with Addison and Chittenden planning commissions, be interested in convening a conversation about how to improve the safety of 22A and how in the future we might actually build it to the point where it's a more viable economic corridor for us? I don't know what the right words are, but I think we need to move this conversation forward. And so I'm really appreciative of Jeremy's testimony, and I think we all are. But we also have to, that this is an essential corridor. We also need to be improving our rail here as well. Key to have it included is David's study just rail, or is it rail and road?
Just road, I believe, right, Dave?
Are you talking about?
No, David.
Oh, sorry, Dave Pelletier is
Rail Network that you had David Pelletier. Is that just rail, or is it rail and road?
It's all freight modes, so rail, air, and
okay, great. Road. So it strikes me that what if you were willing to convene that conversation, that we could rework this a little. Obviously, AOT is not wanting to take this on. But David Weeks, with you and Rick and I could work on sort of retooling some of this language if you were willing to convene that conversation for us to move this forward. Because I think all of us are interested in moving forward, at least exploring what could happen.
I know about VTrans, they can come around to partake in conversations. And I mean, if this was reframed around not necessarily a big legislative study group, but instead something where they could include input on opportunities for new passing lanes, widening the roads, low-hanging fruit. I've found around here the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and 22A needs to be squeakier. It's a major corridor that needs some love, attention, expansion to serve all of the economic interests of all of Vermont, including Burlington. So I definitely support reworking this to maybe require less people around the table. We don't need the mayor of Burlington on this thing. I already told you that. But other ways to just get this conversation.
So, Devin, I asked you a question. Would you actually be willing to work with? I don't remember who's Fred's. Oh, no, it's not. That's RNC. But Addison and Chittenden. That strikes me. You have 3 outstanding planning commissions that could maybe convene this conversation, or maybe Rutland would like to be the convener, given the swap.
Yeah, I can definitely get the conversation restarted. In the past, our transportation advisory committees have held joint hearings on this corridor. I think it would just be a more formalized expansion of that conversation. So I would be happy to do that, Senator.
Thank you. I appreciate, and I think we will have language hopefully to you to consider by either later today or tomorrow, because we need to move this bill.
Okay.
Thank you. If that's okay with the committee. Great. Because I don't think AOT is going to take this.
Right. Well, I mean, as we hear from AOT and figure out who needs to participate, the biggest cost and delay is going to come from the permitting process.
Yes.
So
permitting.
The
and
land use
acquisition.
review board should be on, somebody should be on this who can say how, I'm looking at Sabina because of her past work, but we cannot afford to do any of this if our permit process remains the same on this one.
Absolutely. And land acquisition is a huge piece.
So
When you're
I-
looking at that.
I'd only support this if LURB or somebody who had the capacity to say this will somehow be free of appeals by the time it's done. I mean, otherwise it's
Jeremy,
gonna,
the last-
it's never going to happen.
You got
It's
your,
just never going to happen.
Yeah, if I could, Chair.
Yeah.
So I think it's much deeper than just LURB, right?
Yeah.
Because that's Act 250.
Right.
And by and large, if you satisfy the 10 criteria through other regulatory framework,
Mhm.
you know, certainly there's a public participation piece of Act 250 that doesn't necessarily exist elsewhere, but it's much deeper than just LURB, right?
Yeah,
It's
right.
wetlands, it's historical and archaeological resources.
it's
A&R should be, I mean.
You
but
know,
it's also some federal stuff too. I mean, right?
I just.
It is. I think generally
That's
speaking,
transparent.
when we satisfy our state requirements, we generally satisfy the federal requirements. Generally speaking, we're more rigorous than they are. But yeah, NEPA will have to be satisfied. And really, it will be a conversation with ANR on those various resources.
So obviously A&R, LURB, you, AOT, we'd hope that would participate because you now have $4 million investment in some of this conversation. And Devin. So Devin, if we can get the three of us get new language hopefully by later today, that would be great. Roy, and then we're going to shift.
Just a quick comment. I've been hearing this for several years now, and I don't think this AOT is doing enough to get the landowners in line with this project. And the right of ways, I know most of these people are willing to do something along that road because I talked to them.
Yeah.
So if we need somebody to negotiate with the AOT and these people, let's do it.
Yeah.
And it's a straight road from Fairhaven to Bridgens, almost a straight road. You have got elevations and there's no need, there's not a lot of engineering, just zoom up to there.
Great.
We've been
Thank you.
trying to get a bike path on my road for
Yeah.
20 years.
You can't wait 20 years.
No. Clearly not.
You can't wait.
So Devin, thank you. We're going to move forward. Thank you, Devin. I really appreciate your help.
Make it easier.
Jeremy, thank you so much for helping frame it up for us.
My
And
pleasure. Have a great day.
Give us figure out a time today.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Roy, Jeremy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we're going to pivot to, I think we're going to pivot to culinary. Amy, would you like to join us? And I know we still have Derek, but Derek may have had to leave. Derek is still there. Hi. We're going to have a brief comment from you, but thank you so much for being pleasant. Amy, welcome.
Yes, and I don't know if Leslie Wells has
I-
testified yet.
But she's here online and we're going to have brief testimony from Leslie too.
She is, I want to flag quickly, it is lambing season, so she's
Oh, it's lambing.
multitasking. So I might maybe request that Leslie could go first, just to honor.
Leslie, are you
her,
in between lambs?
Love to see a demonstration.
Yeah. Leslie, are you there?
Should be lambs.
She's on mute.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, we can't see. Can,
You,
hi,
oh, sorry.
you have a minute? in
No,
between
I'm actually-
lambs too? Or
No,
are you-
I'm at, I actually got my partner to hang out with the 7 pregnant ewes I have left.
Oh, great.
So I could, and I'm at my new alimentary, my new store I'm about to open up. So I am very excited to be here to talk about restaurants.
Great. Well, and the pipeline into restaurants.
That's
Welcome,
right.
Leslie. Welcome.
Do you want me to go ahead?
Yes, I think if you
Okay.
have a minute, we would love to just hear briefly from you why about this task force to study the reestablishment of a culinary institute in Vermont.
Well, I was really excited to hear when Amy reached out to me, really excited to hear that because as many of you probably remember spending time at Necky in the old Mayfair building in Burlington, just watching folks train. And it was just a really neat time and a great experience. But thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today. I've actually spent my career in Vermont restaurant in the Vermont restaurant industry. And I started out that career in a management training program at the Sirloin Saloon. I never intended to go into restaurants. It was one of those things I did as a job while I was in school. I really wanted to be a vet. And it turned out that I started this management training program, and I really got excited about learning every single aspect about the business through that program. And it was just a tremendous experience. And from that perspective, I can say that culinary and hospitality education is incredibly important to the future of our industry and our communities. Restaurants are often thought of as simply places that serve meals, but they actually sit at the center of several systems that communities rely upon. Historically, hospitality and culinary institute or jobs have always been treated as have not always been treated as professional, with clear training and career pathways. It's very often been a job like it started out with me, a job that kind of put me through school or did this or did that just to move from one place to the next. And I think education helps change that by giving people the skills and knowledge and to build that long-term career and to think of themselves think of it as a career in this industry. With restaurants, we employ such a large number of service workers, and we create markets for farmers and dairies and food producers. And we attract tourism and support other local businesses. We generate tax revenue. We support municipalities in the state. And when restaurants are really healthy and, those benefits really extend far beyond the dining room. We're community centers. We have people that just spend their time getting together in our spaces. And we also spend a lot of time donating time, gift cards, money to other organizations too. And keeping the restaurants really healthy is difficult, especially right now with the costs that are out of control. It's been very difficult to attract and retain employees, especially over the last 4 years. And labor has become very expensive. And the expense incorporates the hiring process, the training, and then compensating employees with money and benefits that far outpaces the restaurateur's ability to increase prices. So you can't make a pizza that's, $40 to cover your costs. It just won't work. And so while there's nothing wrong with on-the-job training, it's what we do, but it's expensive. You spend a lot of time training someone and then they move on to someplace else. And, it's trying to retain that employee becomes, again, very expensive. But an academy that trains that turns out trained professional people who have chosen hospitality as a career path is a great resource for restaurants and for the hospitality industry as a whole. So I really applaud this move. I think culinary and hospitality education will strengthen the entire ecosystem around restaurants. It will support workers, strengthen connections to local farms, and help businesses operate more sustainably. And I think investing in this kind of education is ultimately an investment in our workforce, our food system, and our communities. So I thank you for the opportunity to share my perspective.
Leslie, thank you so much. Any questions for Leslie?
Well, hi, Leslie. It's great to see you, Senator from Hinsdale. And I want to note that Leslie sponsored our convening with the portraitist, who is almost finished with the portrait of Lavinia Dorsey Bryant. So we appreciate Leslie. Leslie, as we've talked about this, I've raised that the last time we had efforts towards a culinary institute was actually in our women's prison. And I don't know if you were involved in that, but as we think about, Necky in Montpelier, right? I think I got to UVM right when Necky left Burlington, and then it was in Montpelier. And one of the challenges is the premium of trying to be in Chittenden County, you know, close to Church Street or the hub of restaurants. The women's prison is actually, you know, one of the closest commercial kitchens to downtown Burlington. Do you have any thoughts on, you know, sort of the logistics of trying to get this restarted in somewhere like Chittenden County?
Or not, actually, or somewhere else. 'Cause it
Well,
was-
maybe in multiple
Yeah.
places, but I think
Right.
it was hard to get the volume you needed in Montpelier.
We have, we also have included, before you got here, we've included the Department of Corrections in the
Great.
stakeholders.
I think that one way that to do this would be if you thought about bringing restaurateurs in to have their kitchens opened up to you,
Yes.
so that you know, just people could move around.
Yes.
Sort of like what I did at Sirloin
Yeah.
Saloon. I went through every single part, and they can move around to different restaurants and work with people. Yes.
So you're thinking a culinary institute might not be one bricks and mortar location.
It might be both. So like you have training in one place, and then you maybe go out and do some sort of internship or some sort of time in different restaurants with different places.
Thank you, Leslie. We're gonna just keep us moving here because we have a lot to get through. Thank you very much. Really appreciate and hope you will be a person we might touch base with in the course of this work.
Absolutely.
Great.
Thank you.
And then just quickly, Derek, you've been waiting online. If you wanted to add your 2 cents from the eastern side of Vermont, Derek, if you'd introduce yourself and just quickly weigh in, that would be great.
Hi, everybody. Derek Williams, Superintendent Director of the River Valley Tech Center in Springfield. Nick nailed most of my talking points. Our dual enrollment credits are out of New Hampshire. Most of our students who go on to school are going on to Johnson & Wales or Culinary Institute of America. They're not coming back. In addition to that, our lower income students who maybe don't see post-secondary education as possible are not going, where if we had a local option, I think we could get more folks into the industry with a higher level of skills, earning more money. And we're also not drawing people into the state for that educational experience, which means they never come here to work. That's my highlights. I'm happy to answer more questions about it, but I know you folks are on a tight timeline.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think you touched on a key piece, which is, I think, this is another opportunity to bring people into Vermont, as we talked about growing not only our hospitality sector and the quality of our food to plate and our restaurants. Bringing people here is something we have been long wanting to do. And it's an additional reason. Thank you. Any questions for Derek? Great. You're one of our strong culinary programs. We have actually surprising, we have great culinary programs in our CTE centers. Great.
And it's really a bummer when they leave to go.
Yeah,
work in
it's
other
really a
places.
bummer when they leave. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It was interesting to have you here to hear the rest of this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, bye-bye. Amy, come join us. And
Thanks for the flexibility. Be boots on the ground where she's needed. Good morning, Amy Spear. I'm the president of Vermont Chamber of Commerce. I would like to say one remark on 22.
yeah, I both.
I guess I'll do both, but I will try to be very brief here. I spoke with many independent restaurant operators prior to today, ever since we had our conversation about bringing back a culinary institute. And there was a lot of excitement. I would say there is a consistent message across the industry that we need to strengthen the culinary workforce pipeline. No surprise, cited frequently in the conversation since the closure of NEPI, Vermont no longer has that dedicated pathway for students to pursue professional culinary training. And many restaurants are going back to that out-of-state training, sending them out of state and really just hoping they come back to our state. One operator put it to me, Vermont's food reputation was, quoting, that's why I'm reading intently here. Vermont's food reputation was built by talented chefs who trained somewhere. The question is whether we want more of that training and more of that talent happening right here in Vermont. I think that's just a good synopsis of where the industry's lines are when we talk about culinary institute training. relating to one of the earlier questions on infrastructure for culinary training, we did put a little bit of time and conversation in our recent Vermont Independent Restaurant meeting that we held. One of the conversations was around, study is a great way to approach this because it would allow us to explore what modern culinary training might look like in our state. Other states have successfully developed distributed models that combine classroom instruction through higher education partners with apprenticeships in restaurants. There's not one dedicated way to train in the culinary arts, and I think a study would allow exploration for what works best in Vermont. So I think everyone around this table recognizes demographic challenges that we do have as a state, and making sure that we have a Vermont Fit model is important to make sure it's a sustainable piece. So we have a lot of the building blocks in place already that can support that kind of approach, whether it's our CTEs, our higher ed partners, and strong network of independent restaurants that can serve as apprenticeship sites. So a study very supportive, a lot of excitement from the industry on that. And a lot of note they feel like there's almost been a culinary desert starting to form in our state because we don't have that pipeline of the next generation of chefs coming up through NECI right now. So just sharing some sentiments there and trying to be very quick, knowing how limited you are.
Appreciate. And on 22A, what are your thoughts about that? As you've heard, I don't know if you've heard the entire conversation, but I think you were here for a large part.
Yeah, I heard a large part of it. We did dive in a little bit more into 22A as well in preparation for this. So 22A is very important north to south corridor connecting Burlington, Virgins, Middlebury, and Rutland to New York markets through the Crown Point Bridge and 87. And transportation, just a fact for everybody, transportation infrastructure plays a major role in economic competitiveness. Approximately 84% of freight in Vermont moves by truck. So meaning corridors like 22A carry a large share of the goods that support our economy. Traffic counts that we've seen show hundreds of trucks moving through the Virgins area every day. And safety analysis identified high crash locations along the corridor, including more than 300 crashes in the Fairhaven area over a 6-year period. It's a very significant number.
Devin gave us fun in 5.
I think that was like
63 accidents on 22A, so it's even.
So it's a longer period, but that was from a freight study that was done. So one reason we like the approach of a study on 22A is it doesn't commit the state to one set of construction or what to do. Just ensures that you would have the information needed to make that long-term infrastructure decision for the area. So I'd say both of the provisions take a thoughtful approach to understanding both our long-term workforce and infrastructure needs, and appreciate the time this morning and a very busy week.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
So I grew up in a restaurant. It was a restaurant owned by an immigrant. I still see a lot of the programs kind of catering to like fine dining and, kind of a European sense of things. And it was an Irish pub, don't get me wrong, but, run by an Indian. And the workforce is going to be immigrant. That's where you're going to get people who are willing to do long hours. And frankly, that's just where the people are coming from. Chamber has done a lot of work to try and build inroads in new American communities. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think that'd be an important piece of the study. And maybe that could be something that's intentionally laid out, looking at the population that would be taking advantage of this program, or that would be most likely to be trained through this program. So I think thoughtfully adding that into the study as a discussion piece would help frame the best possible outcomes.
And by the way, I'm pointing at Tom because I always thought the family business program at UVM Grossman School is an underutilized resource. My father's restaurant was a family business. I was waitressing and stuff. And, if you go into a lot of the immigrant businesses in Chittenden County, you'll find their kids. So I just wrote that out there because I just think this has the potential to be very disjointed to what Vermont's demographics are calling for right now.
And I think perhaps the apprenticeship model, like within culinary training, looking at different restaurants could be a very good way to do this. So placing students with, like a Single Pebble, a great example, which was always talking about how it's very difficult to find people that are trained to cook in her kitchen.
Mhm.
And that's a very different style of cooking than maybe fine dining versus, you name it. There's,
Is fine.
Right.
so
Right.
it is very,
Yeah.
yes.
It's very tablecloth fine dining.
So, thinking through that, I think that looking at all the different pathways that could fit within Vermont and what works within our model as a state versus, what is CIA doing? What are they doing at Johnson and Wales? It's all very different. Senator Clarkson and I had a discussion of someone that went through Paul Smith's culinary program. They're now a butcher. So every culinary program I think is important to look at the market they're in and who their audience is.
And I also have a friend constituent who went to New York for bartending school, mixology or whatever you call it. So I don't want to lose track of that. I mean, for better or worse, we have a very heavy drinking culture. And I don't even know where you go to bartending school.
Well, I mean, that could be a key piece of this because you could get a very simple short-term accreditation and
Yeah.
a certificate for that conceivably at this kind of an institute.
Right. I mean, she left for 6 weeks, I think, to go do that. So I don't know that you
Those are,
that.
I think, I would hope all those things were studied. Yeah, that's why we're doing this.
Yeah, I think study is a good way to start. That way we're not building as we go. It's a way to be thoughtful in the process and make sure we're lining up workforce pipeline.
Right.
That's really critical for our state.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Oh, David,
I don't know how pressed we are on time.
we are, because I'm wanting us to get through the rest of the
Just a
bill and
quick
make
comment
decisions.
that on the list of stakeholders, we heard CTE comments a variety of times. Possibly AOE should have a seat at the table. Talk about the transition, possibly.
Yeah, AOE and New Americans, whatever group we would like to want to include. But I think when we say all the stakeholders, I think Sabina is here listening.
I just don't think AOE is a great voice for CTE. I think the
Well, we have-
directors of CTE.
That's why we have
But the
this. We're-
CTE director is resident inside AOE. That's the current construct. So that's just a,
Right.
they may be missing. The CTE component is missing from this.
Oh, actually, it's right here, the Vermont Association of Career and Technical Directors.
Ah, very good.
But yeah, and we could maybe add the word education, technical education directors.
And I think I would also applaud adding you have the Vermont Independent Restaurant voice in there, the other working group of the chamber, but I think it's also very important to have an independent restaurant operator in there. So
Oh,
thank you
yes.
for that addition.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, Rick, I think we're gonna pull you back up. We have until 10 and then we'll have a break at 10 o'clock and then we're gonna shift to cannabis and we're gonna make some decisions on that and we're gonna make some decisions now. So, Rick, thank you. If you could finish going through the changes, and I think we could just talk about some of the changes that we just did on culinary, but so thanks.
Sure.
Thank you.
So Rick Sagel, Office of Legislative Counsel.
Great.
Once again.
So if you wanted to quickly review the changes you've made so far, and then I think we have to just make some decisions as we go through the sections, and we've done that work and with this wonderful chart we've gotten from Patrick Titterton, we can make some money decisions which need to be made. So would you be kind enough to finish going through the changes we have in front of us? And
Sure. So chronological order, changes are highlighted in yellow as usual on page 1. The purpose statement, just adding in statements that were not in the previous parts of the bill. We've added the section on the Route 22A study, so that's been added, and the Culinary Institute's feasibility study. So those statements have been added to the purpose statement to make sure it's all.
And so obviously that language will change depending on what our 22A work is involved.
So if you want to go through each section that don't have changes, if you want to go in up or down, or just want to go through the changes first.
I'm going to quickly go through changes and then let's go through up and down and discuss money as we go through up and down.
Okay, page 5, this is the International Trade Office. Just a slight adjustment of language. The amount of money is the same. subdivision 1 continue to support the office initiatives. It's the same. That subdivision 2, the previous language was about hiring or it's a new office, creating a new office to support the Taiwan Vermont relationship. I think the testimony was that it's not maybe going to be a new office, and it might just be a contract employee. It could be, so the language is more broad to say expanding support, and that could be a new office, that could be a new employee, that could be
Right.
something totally different. It's just there's more money for that aspect of the office.
Right.
Okay, on page
Thank you. I think
6,
that's good. Yeah.
this is the Business Resources and Growth Study by the Commissioner of Economic Development. Clarifying on subdivision 2 that it's not in-state and out-of-state resources, it is public and private resources.
Right.
So governmental resources and private
Yeah, I mean,
opportunity for businesses.
the legal center, the law school is a good example of the Vermont training, Vermont roundtable training programs. I mean, we have a lot of partners in business resource that are not state government.
Okay, on page 7 and 8, this is the Convention Center Task Force that was created last year. You already have amended the bill to give them more meetings. That hasn't changed, but adding the president of UVM or their designee
Yeah.
to the remaining however many meetings they will have, that president will be added to that task force. Also correcting the reimbursement language. Currently, they are reimbursed for up to 6 meetings. If you're going to increase the meetings to 14, you should also increase the reimbursement to 14. That's on page 8.
Right.
No changes on page 9. And then we have the Culinary Institute feasibility study. Adding Department of Labor on page 10, Department of Corrections. I already talked about this, but and then the Vermont Employee Ownership Center.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think we may want to figure out the right. I think education, it's back dead. So I think it's Vermont Associated of Career and Technical Education Directors.
I'm on their website, Madam Chair.
Am I wrong?
They call themselves Vermont Association of Career and Technical Directors.
Okay.
But happy to add in, because obviously the E does stand for education.
Yes, I would include the education piece, just, and I think there was a request to, we have the independent restaurants here, which Amy had asked for, that's already been included. And, I think what we might also want to include is the Office of New Americans. What office would we, Keisha, when you refer to making sure we have,
Thank
yeah.
you.
so what office would we want to make sure they, consult with?
Probably refugee resettlement, or USCRI, but I feel like USCRI got funded,
Yeah,
so,
got defunded.
I think Office of Refugee Resettlement is the only freestanding. We have a study on an Office of New Americans.
Yes, we
That's
do,
what
but-
passed. Okay, then yeah, that's.
Okay.
Right.
So I'll do this.
That would be
Well,
great. And
I'll
then-
add education on that.
Yeah,
Office for-
And then David, if we could make time to do some new language on, Sabina, did you have a thought?
No, I'm
Okay.
listening intently.
Okay, great. I think, Rick, if you and David and I could make some time to meet, that would be really great to move that language forward. And then that is the sum total of the changes thus far.
Yes.
Okay, great. So we have 20 minutes, team. We began this conversation about the reality of the finances in this bill. And I think we want to be thoughtful, but I also think we want to advocate for the things we think we need. So I think I would boldly suggest we've had time to sit with this great chart that Pat Sitterson put together for us. You have a copy of this.
I can pull it up. I've not seen it.
Great. Terrific. And so given that we have to, we'll obviously have the changes that Rick has just talked about, either later today, but probably to look at tomorrow at some point. We'll squeeze in some time because I'd love to, if we could vote this out tomorrow with those changes. I realize it's probably not realistic to do that today. But I think if we wanted to begin going through and land on some, on the money pieces, that would be really helpful. So, the first, money piece we have, really, I mean, all the money's obviously it's done at the end, but here in our chart, if we could maybe go, section 3 is where we have the first, well, no, that's not true. Downtown village and tax credits. We have our first decision point here. I just refer us to this chart if you want to use this to make your decisions on. This was really great. And we have a $5 million proposal in our bill. And Keisha had recommended 4, and I'm happy to consider 4. I mean, I think we just need to come to a decision together. What did I say? 4. 5 is what's proposed in the bill. 3 is what's in the governor's recommend. We know how important these are, and they leverage at least 17 to 1.
I don't have that in front of me.
I can share my screen.
Oh, would you think that would be helpful? Thank you. Sorry, this was such a great.
Yeah, but you don't see it.
And.
Oh, sorry, I don't have that. I have the bill, but I don't have the table.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
Or if you can put it on today's page.
If
Whatever.
you put it up on the screen,
I
that'd
don't
be
think
great.
on the screen yet. Let me
I don't know,
find
okay,
it.
so I don't think it's supposed to. Sorry.
I had it somewhere. Where it is. Up on the screen.
You didn't take it home and put it under
I
your
did.
pillow.
I did. I think it's still under my
That's
pillow.
what I did. I know. I figure if I sleep with it, you know, that it'll all just somehow.
It's gonna be, because I blew it out for this format, it's gonna be a little bit harder to read. Just.
Oh, good. There it is. If you can blow it up a little. Because somebody would have to have much younger eyes than I have to see that. Okay, great. Perfect. I think you guys see that enough for helping or. Okay. So. Downtown Village, we have a proposal on the table to consider 4 instead of 5. And feel like an auctioneer. Going once.
Worst one.
4, okay?
See how it's doing.
To me, it says it's important, but we don't have 5 million.
Right. Well, or it's an additional to it. Right. We all okay with that? Okay, moving
Yeah,
forward.
thank you for in a way to look at everything we propose and even ourselves mentally within the order
Yeah, but well,
of priority.
we'll do that next. We'll do that next. And then Andy's asked me to give that to him in a priority list, which we will do. Okay, so next one are the three resources that we have asked to continue to fund. As you'll recall, last year we had more. This year we're really focused on some of the key elements of legal, technical expertise, and really helping low-income Vermonters start businesses. So those are the 3 areas we've prioritized in this bill. We had an excellent email yesterday from Nicole Killoran, who runs the Vermont Small Business Law Center, saying that yes, they've gotten their federal grant, but they don't know when they're going to get it, and they have to function until then. And it probably, I printed out her email, and do I have it in front of me? No. But we have it. We all got it, and oh, I did print it out. Huh. Here we are. So she is the uncertainty. So we expect 550. I'll just read it just while we make this decision. We expect $555,000 in congressionally directed spending with an unclear start date. We expect some to be determined, some support from the Bar Association. However, we do not have any contact with the SBA and VBA and will not hear back until May regarding the amount and the start date. This uncertainty creates a potential gap in our funding that translates directly to our ability to provide legal services to our small businesses. So at the end of June, I believe their money runs out. And so they are hoping that we will consider some money to tide them over. They've asked for the same amount. We had 300,000, I think, in our bill. And so what's your pleasure on that, knowing that there will be a gap in their funding? They have real, you know, this was, as we heard, incredibly valued resource, a different resource from many of the other things. What's your thought on this?
Tiding over it, the full amount doesn't seem.
So
We're trying to fill a gap, potential gap, even just a potential gap.
150?
I'm just stating I think the obvious,
So,
just to spur the conversation.
but what would you propose?
Quarter, a quarter of, the 1/4
So-
funding,
Yeah. So just to put it out there, I would then suggest that we consider $100,000. And then we'll obviously prioritize this, but that would hopefully go to helping tie them over until this grant out, which may be the end of the year. If you guys all saw this, I mean, if you want, I can pass it. Okay. Thomas, Deja,
I don't have a strong opinion on this.
what?
I don't have a strong opinion on this.
Would 100 be okay for starters? Deja?
What, sorry. We're, I don't wanna,
We're on, the small business legal center, which,
well, so my feedback was, let's try to find the money from cannabis resources. And so I believe in what we do. I just never felt comfortable with this section because I think this is one where we could find a revenue that's related.
well, I'm not sure we could find any revenue, but we're gonna. So if we put in 100 and then we'll figure out where we want to suggest it come from, how about that?
I would advocate for putting more money in the cannabis code, but. So I don't really find what I'm very sensitive.
Okay, I am going to boldly propose we keep it at 100K and then we'll figure out where we suggest the money comes from, and that will be a conversation I have with Andy on Monday. So
and hopefully by the time of the big budget, the big bill, we know more.
Yeah,
and
well, that's exactly, appropriations is doing it. Okay, so next one is the Small Business Development Center. Critically important resource center for our Vermont businesses. What is your pleasure there? As I recall, the governor has recommended 388,889, and we've added an additional 300. The proposed change is what are people? This serves the largest number of our small businesses and businesses, period.
What's the 488,889? They've gotten some one time for this upcoming budget.
No, we're on the third line, which is.
Oh, Act 27, FY 27.
Yeah.
Sorry, I saw 27. I was like, is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we did one time, we did advocate for them getting more last year. They got it. And I would, what are people thinking?
Did we advocate for that amount and
No,
they got 150 one time?
I think we advocated for 300. We advocated for a bit more and we got 150.
You advocate for 300, and you got half that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I would propose that we might do the same thing for this year and see what happens. David, Thomas, Randy? Okay,
So
resounding support here.
150 or 300 for the additional.
150.
Okay, so change, okay.
I think, is that what I'm hearing? Thomas, David, Randy?
No objection.
We asked for 300, we got 150. I'm happy to ask for 300 and get 150 again, or we'll get what appropriations gives us, but don't ask, don't get. So I'm sort of in that mode here. 300, 150. Important key resource to our small business. So what are we feeling? We could prioritize it in addition, obviously, to
150 with a fairly strong priority.
okay. Great, then let's move to micro business. Again, I feel like with these three key resources, we're looking at legal resources, we're looking at technical, small business help, with the small business center, which is so vital. And then the third is the micro business, which helps low income people create their own businesses. And it's such an important, we've had so many great businesses develop in the micro business. They're embedded in all of our community action agencies, and they have been just terrific in terms of for a whole host of reasons. So we have as you will recall, in the governor's budget, there is the governor's recommend is 493. We've asked for an additional 100,000. What are people's feeling?
In general, it's just a general comment. I am not enthusiastic about spending more money unless there is a return on investment that you can have from capital.
I think there's a huge return on investment.
And I'm not sure what that return on investment is in this area. So, and you may want to like me further.
Well, they had a very strong testimony about how many businesses they have helped create and how they're contributing all over the state. And the great financial advice and counsel, which is a slightly different program, but they're beginning to link those, which is helping people manage their finances better in plus helping start businesses with low income Vermonters. It's a great way to get people moving. I know everybody loves hand ups, and this is a big hand up. This is enable people to create their own businesses so they are less, they are standing on their own two financial feet. So I really love the micro business program, and I would like to support it as much as we can. So I'm going to boldly propose we do 100,000 again and see where we land.
Can you remind us? I mean, I actually thought way in the Professionals of Color Network did a very good job saying, if we don't get this money, this is what is lost. And this was the return on investment for what we lost. I can't remember what micro business said about the $100,000.
Micro businesses in here. Oh, it's in here. I'm not sure I have it alone. It is a colorful, here it is. Right here. I think that's what you're looking for. I told those keys.
This is a request for $2.2 million.
Okay, so that's not all. Okay, sorry.
I mean, it's broken out, but I don't know.
Well, they did a very good presentation. We have it here. We have it on our website. If we want to wait and make a decision on that tomorrow, I'm happy to do that. But I would propose that we look at 100,000. Next one, we have professionals of color, which we've added because that was clearly not. I mean, this is again four resources that are so important. This is again enabling the networking and success of our businesses started, and it supports our businesses that are run by professionals of color. What do I hear from this? We got the 60,000 is actually not for them. That's in the governor's recommend. I think that's what Wei made a very strong case for that. And so they are, yes, they have members, but they are in need of some additional support to make this work for them. So we are looking at asking for 200,000. Additionally, what are people's feelings about this?
Unenthusiastic.
Keisha, Thomas, they don't know how I feel. So are you suggesting keep it at 200? 150?
No, I mean, maybe people don't know how I feel. I think Wei did a better job than almost anybody who came in talking about the return on investment.
Right.
For a community it's highly underinvested in and doesn't have access to a lot of other grants or funds of these other organizations. And they are they're name checked all the time by state government when and we made sure we brought in the Professionals of Color Network, and they pieced together really small amounts of contracting money or grants from the state So if we believe it's of value that we have a more diverse workforce, given our demographics, then I think this is one of the best investments of $200,000 we can make.
Okay, so you're supporting 200,000, David?
Yeah, given national immigration climate, I'm inclined to support this type of organization. I'm not sure about the funding amount, but I give it a higher priority, just not sure what the funding.
Right. Thomas?
So generally on this whole process, is it fair to say that these organizations when the governor was drafting their budget had heard from these organizations and a lot of these requests were not met in the budget?
Well, I would also remind us that brownfields weren't even invested. I mean, this was a tough budget year and the governor's choices are different from ours. They, that's where the legislature.
Raise the point I raised previously is I think they're all meritorious, but if we're not going to find an opportunity where we're going to take money away from something else to then reprioritize some to this other opportunity, I just don't know how important this exercise is when the appropriations is ultimately going to make these decisions.
I think this is important because they are going to be making these decisions. That's their, they will be making it, and there will be some room for us to advocate, and they're obviously going to be the final arbiters of what's available. But I think we could say these are priorities for us, and these are important to our business community and to improving our business's ability to thrive, flourish, and thrive. So I have 200. Yeah, David.
No, wait.
Randy.
I just look at everything that we do that adds additional money. The money's got to come from someplace. And yes, I sit on this committee, but I also sit on the finance committee and look at where's the money coming from? Whose taxes are we going to raise? Whose taxes are deserving that we're not going to reduce? Where's the additional revenue coming from to make up the difference? And every time we add, we have to look at the balance of the other side of it.
Right. I appreciate that. Having served on Ways and
job.
That's why I have to.
Having served on Ways and Means for 8 years, I completely appreciate that. And but that is the job of the Appropriations Committee. Our job is to advocate for the economic development we see that needs investment, and that is really what and Andy supported me in that. So,
just wanted to tag on to Senator Chitman's comment that when we come to these budget conversations, I'm always startled that when you add up what we're really talking about versus state budget, this is 0.001% of the state budget.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we're moving big money and making big obligations, what have you. In many eyes we are, but in the grand scheme of life, the Appropriations Committee will do what they want.
I will just say, I think every committee should look at all of the studies it's asked for and task forces every year and see how much that adds up to. Because those are all like 25,000, 75,000, whatever, and it adds up to quite a lot. And every committee should feel some level of responsibility for how many task forces or money things.
Absolutely.
okay.
And every committee also has to take into account the state of the Vermonters that they represent. And they're the ones who are going to be paying these taxes that make up the monies that we're spending.
We're looking at taxes that are already being collected. There's nothing new.
Well, there's nothing
here.
that said we couldn't do one time, actually lower a tax.
But just one quick point to your point, we should reflect back on what Senator Bach always reminds us of, and that's return on investment. Some of these studies produce income, revenue for the state, prosperity,
Right.
real economic development. That's where we should be pulling it up.
And we should make sure that we pay attention to what they've said. We're asking for the right thing and it has an ROI.
Agreed. So with that, speaking of return on investment, of our next line is the Vermont Outdoor Recreation Community, which has asked for $200,000 for an economic impact study.
So their return on investment, I was very impressed with their presentation and the logic they provided to us on the net impact on the state's economy. 100% highest priority on this.
Good deal, Thomas?
Yeah, it's good. Important stuff.
Okay, so we'll keep that at 200. And I would propose the International Trade Division, we have 150 in there for the Canadian representative. I would boldly propose that.
I thought it was Taiwan.
No, it is. It's 225.
Oh, okay.
So the Taiwan is an additional 75,000. again, in the scheme of things and in terms of what it could in investment, the potential of investment is high. What's your thought on this?
I'm a strong no on this one.
Why?
First of all, they said they don't want the money. They don't think they could create a return on
Well, they
investment.
can't
for
say they
it.
want the money
Well,
because they can't say that. because-
Okay, but they also said that they feel like they are doing enough of, we've paid for positions that don't just do Canadian relations or don't just do one country. This is their job. This is the base of their job, not what is $75,000 buy us, like some plane tickets? I'm not even.
No,
sure.
a relationship with a representative in Taiwan. I
What
would,
does that mean? Like, I haven't
That's
seen
what that
any
means.
details of that because then we talked about maybe we get a New England contract or what have you. I
Right.
didn't, because they haven't wanted the money, I have no idea what the $75,000 is.
Okay,
for, and nobody's written that down for me.
okay, so I would support you on that. I think that this is a development, a conversation and a proposal in development that needs to be better developed. And I would support the language of really working on what would be required for us to establish a relationship with, I'm gonna figure out the language on that, but for next year, because I think that is a critically important relationship for us to be building. I don't think if the work has been done yet for us to actually fully propose it. So let's maybe ask for them to explore it more fully. But I would propose that we keep it at 150. Is that okay with everybody? Gotcha. Great. The brownfields.
Any idea why the administration didn't propose anything around this?
I
Is that a?
absolutely more.
Yeah.
So, what we talked about.
I feel like if you have an answer, I'd like.
Well, I don't want to speak for them. I just, in the hallways, I asked different individuals, and they said it was just a matter of keeping the budget down. They see it as a meritorious program, but there's just no money for it, and so it was a trade-off. I don't think they're against it. It's just.
Yeah. And it's $1 million here. It's not, it was 3 million last year. We got 3 million and, you know, for us to be down to $1 million means like very little is gonna get cleaned up. So I really feel this is a critically important piece of our housing development and business development. And it's just one of those things that,
Yeah, just to again put it in perspective, the Rutland Hotel pit alone, 5 million.
Yeah.
One site.
Yeah.
To clean it up, so that project moved forward. This is, you know, not even one site.
Yeah.
So that's supported.
yeah, thank you. Okay, so if people are okay with that, I think that takes us to time. If we redraft that with those recommendations, and then we will work on prioritizing it tomorrow. When we look at the language changes, and then I hope my expectation and hope is that we will vote this out tomorrow. Okay,
Would email me time for you too?
yes, okay, going on break now, let's figure out it. Thank you, let's take us off live and. Great, we're